It's a wedding weekend in 14 states where same-sex marriage was banned. Many couples getting their marriage licenses Friday after hearing about the Supreme Court's ruling that legalized gay marriage in every state. Here's some of NBC's Hallie Jackson's report last night from NBC Nightly News.
Celebrations decades in the making, but perhaps none as meaningful as these same-sex marriage ceremonies in states where it was illegal, like in Arkansas.
Spouses for life.
And in Texas, where Jack Evans and George Harris finally wed after 50 years together.
Well, one of the youngest plaintiffs in the landmark ruling is a 2-year-old little boy named Cooper Thomas Vitale. He was known in legal documents as adopted child Doe. Cooper was born in Ohio and adopted by Joe Vitale and Rob Thomas, and the couple was married in New York. But because Ohio State did not recognize same-sex marriage, officials refused to issue a birth certificate listing both of their names. Joining me now in studio, Joe Vitale and Rob Thomas, and I'm only sorry that Cooper can't be here because I think he would steal the show, pretty much, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
He's just a little under the weather, so it's been a big time. How do you guys even begin to explain the significance, Joe, of what's happened and the role that he's played in this?
I think waking up this morning, realizing where we are today versus where we were yesterday before 10 a.m., I think that he'll be able to watch this footage when he can, basically understand and realize what an impact he had on this. It actually humanized this entire process. Millions or hundreds of thousands of couples wanted to get married, but as a result of yesterday's verdict, now they can get married. But you talk about Cooper, he is a child. He didn't ask to be involved in this. Correct. Yeah. And now that he will be recognized in all 50 states and territories, I think it's just, for us, it's going to be a very easy story to tell because, love won. And I think, it's going to be a great legacy for the family, but more importantly for the country.
And something that you think he can actually bear, because he's somewhat precocious, right? I mean, heard you guys describing a little bit like a ham yesterday, yeah?
He's a total ham, and you mentioned, when he gets to watch the footage, he's been watching the footage and he thinks it's hysterical that he sees, his daddy's on TV. He doesn't really get it, but he's been a real trooper through the whole thing. He's been getting through some really tough hours and traveling around and making the appearances that he can, and people love him. He was down at the rally yesterday dancing like crazy. So yeah, he's having a great time.
Good. I'm glad about that. In writing the majority opinion, Justice Kennedy says this, guys: excluding same-sex couples from marriage thus conflicts with a central premise of the right to marry. Without the recognition, stability, and predictability marriage offers, their children suffer the stigma of knowing their families are somehow lesser. The marriage laws at issue here thus harm and humiliate the children of same-sex couples. So when you think about this being heard, Rob, in front of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, particularly as it relates to whether same-sex couples were capable of giving children a loving home, I mean, how does that make you feel?
It just doesn't make sense to me, right? We were actually privileged enough to be in the court to hear the arguments, and when you think about the opposing argument that children would suffer in these sorts of family units, it just contradicts everything we were doing there, right? We're obviously there because we value the institution of marriage. We want to be a family unit and want to be recognized as that. And we just want to provide our family the same protection as every other family in the United States.
And that protection, Joe, talked about that. What were the things that were missing potentially for Cooper, or at least for the first 2 years of his life, that you weren't able to provide because of the legal status?
The birth certificate is a legal document, and it follows you throughout your entire life. But just something as simple as daycare, where the form states that we need your birth certificate because we need to list who the parents are and then who the nannies are. And the parents have requirements able to take the kid from school, able to treat him in a hospital. You take that document and only allow one parent on that birth certificate, let's say, then that would transpose to any document for school. So Rob or I, depending on who was on that actually birth certificate, the other person would have to be another. And we're not another, we're his parents. In schools, in colleges, to get a birth certificate, to get a passport, to get a social security card, we don't want to have another. There's not one parent, and all the documents that I just mentioned, especially the passport, refer back to a birth certificate. And if there's only one name on there, then basically that document states there's only one parent.
I'm curious, Rob, with regard to how people reacted to you, I mean, we're in the year 2015. I imagine you have a community of friends around you.
Yeah.
But when you were dealing with officials, were they sympathetic at all, or were they like, let's go, we have to go buy the book? And I mean, what was the reaction?
We had an amazing experience. I mean, we went to Ohio to adopt our son. I mean, we adopted him in a very traditional private hospital where we thought we might be at the other end of some prejudice or discrimination, and absolutely not. Everybody was so helpful and understanding that we were doing what was right for Cooper. We haven't experienced any discrimination ever, and our family and friends and the other plaintiffs, I mean, such a support group, right? The only time we ever experienced any trouble was trying to get this document for Cooper, which was a complete shock to us, right? Because we went through this whole wonderful process of adopting our son, finalizing in the state of New York issuing the order to Ohio, you know, listing Joe and I as his parents. And then Ohio just coming back out of the blue saying, well, all of a sudden not all of a sudden, they didn't recognize our marriage, but when you think they let us leave Ohio with Cooper, and then all of a sudden to come from the other hand, out of the other side of your face to say, we don't recognize your marriage and we're not going to issue you a birth certificate with both your names, complete shock.
So how long till this gets fixed? How long till you can get the birth certificate? Do you know?
We haven't really talked to our attorneys yet, but it's our understanding from the media, there's a certain grace period, which we think maybe 20 to 30 days. But obviously the Supreme Court has spoken, and we're going to allow the state to work out their little speed bumps, but we hopefully will have our birth certificate soon.
Well, from one parent who believes that the job as a parent is the greatest one on the planet, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. I can just see it reflected in your eyes.
Even more
all
today.
You've done.
I mean,
gentlemen, thank you so much. Good luck, dads.
Thank you for
It's going to be a great few years ahead of you as you get through, elementary school, middle school, high school. Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.